I think it's time to say bye-bye Ranger Raptor because Chevy just made the Colorado ZR2 even better. I'll include a link to the Chevy and Murray's website in the description down below. If you have any questions, just ask for Gage. Also include a link to my car buying guide. Let's get right into it. Under the hood is a turbo 2.7 liter 4-cylinder that goes through an 8-speed. It puts out 310 horsepower and then 430 pound-feet of torque. Fuel economy, you can expect to get in the high teens. I'm trying to hit 500,000 subscribers before the end of the year. I'd really appreciate it if you'd help out with that. The ZR2 still comes with the cool hood bulge. Also has very sharp looking headlights with a daytime running light. The grille's mostly blacked out in the center with the flow tie red in the center too. Fog lights here on the bottom with recovery points. We also have skid plate protection. Altogether, the front end looks pretty darn aggressive. Tire wheel setup is 285 by 70 by 17. You can see you've got silver on the exterior, and then you've got kind of like an interesting goldish finish, maybe bronzish, kind of a weird color. Huge fender flares with kind of big fenders too, and then we do have rock rail protection here on the side. Now this is a big update, so this has the Multimatic shocks, but you can also get the Jounce bump stops that were previously only available on the AEV edition. They're about a $2,700 upgrade, but it massively improves the dampening with the truck. The proportions of this truck also look fantastic. I mean, it's pretty leveled front to rear. When it comes to key fob features, we've got our lock and unlock remote start and then the Chevy bow tie on the back. Speaking of the back, the tailgate is dampened. We've got power here in the bed, and it does have bed liner from the factory. We also have some storage here in the tailgate. You can just kind of lift up this section. It is drainable. And then you just have these latches on either side to lock it. Finally, there is a ruler, and the tailgate itself is pretty darn light. Pretty nifty taillight design, and then I like the painted bumper there in the back. That will cap things off for the exterior. Let's now check out the interior. Easy to clean trim on the door panel with the neon stitching. That theme continues on the seats. You can see that perforated all down the center. Now, not a crazy amount of legroom here in the back. That is one downside, but it's every mid-size pickup truck. This does have a sliding glass window, and then there are vents for the rear passengers as well as some USB ports. Keyless entry for up front, and let's pop in. Blind spot monitoring with the mirrors, and then down below we do have our memory seat function. More of that fancy gray trim on the door panel, and then the front window is automatic. 1,253 pounds is the payload capacity with this truck. Front seat perforated all down the center. It is also power adjustable with lumbar support. Passenger seat is manual with the adjustment. And then off to the left-hand side of the steering wheel, we do have the trailer brake controls. Let's start her up. Soft touch all around the steering wheel with the Chevy bow tie front and center. On the right hand side, we've got practical controls for the heated steering wheel, for the center digital gauge cluster, those radio controls on the back, and then on the left hand side you get your cruise control. The gauge cluster is customizable in terms of what it displays, so you just press that little button on the steering wheel and it'll change the entire display, which I think is pretty cool. Some of these little gauges have a nice animation to them. This does come with a 360 camera system, and this one also has the underbody cams as well. As for the rest of the infotainment system, stuff like the lights are built into the screen, but it does respond quickly. It also has Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, and then they do still give you physical climate controls below. It also has heated and ventilated seats. Diff locks front and rear. We also have the auto stop start function, lane departure, and then that is tagged an auxiliary item. And then with the windows, you can roll them all down at once with that button. Wireless phone charging pad, and then we've got the shifter here for the 8-speed plus and minus. You can shift the gears yourself. Right next to that's the drive line / drive mode select, so you twist it to change the drive modes. There's modes for both off-road and on-road use and towing. And then this does have a part-time 4-wheel drive system, but it has 4-wheel auto, so it's got basically a full-time 4-wheel drive mode. Cup holders behind, nice trim on the center console. ZR2 there on the dash, and then no center for anything like that. Now, since this is a car that was already purchased by one of the folks here at the dealership, they're letting me review it, by the way. Don't have the window sticker in the car, but I think that this one as equipped is about 56, 57. I might be wrong on that, so don't quote me on that. Let's drive it. ZR2! And if you guys want me to do a review on one without the Jounce bump stops, we can do that too for one that's a little bit more affordable. And you know, if for those of you wondering why I review so many cars, this is not related to the video, but I always have people wonder why I post so many videos. I treat this like a 9-to-5 job. Now, I don't work 9 to 5, I work more hours than that. Hopefully one day maybe I'll be able to slow things down a little bit, but so I just go in every single day and I just film cars. I just pick an area in Utah, and then I just go to the dealerships in that area and I film cars every single, well, not every single day, 5 days a week. And then on the weekends, I do a bunch of editing. So that's why I'll have, like, you know, sometimes multiple videos on cars. It's like I'm just going around and I'm like, you know what? Let's get an update on this. Let's get an update on that. Sometimes, you know, people are, you know, value it. Sometimes they don't. But let's see how this performs. Now the Turbo 2.7, good low end torque. And the Jounce bump stops, now on road, they're not gonna make an incredibly big difference. Most of the difference you're gonna feel is going to be off-road. What that's going to do is when you go over big compression, the Jounce bump stop is going to help out with softening that larger compression. Man, this is a torquey fella. Seriously. It's pretty good. It's not fast. It's not as exciting as the Ranger Raptor's powertrain. That has like a pretty crazy level of speed to it. But this feels like more than adequate. And something to note, we're in 2-wheel drive. If you put it in 4-wheel drive, you'll obviously have some power loss, but that's every single vehicle. So it's nice that they let you go in 2-wheel drive so you don't have as much drivetrain loss. But yeah, on road and everything, I mean, the dampening on this is fantastic. AEV does a really good job with all of their stuff. Well, I mean, I shouldn't say AEV. It's Multimatic that makes the shocks and the Jounce bump stops, but a lot of this Colorado stuff is partnered with AEV. That's why you have the Bison version. But yeah, Multimatic, we got to give them the big shout out for the Jounce bump stops and the shocks. Yeah, this drives really well. I wish more manufacturers would use Multimatic. It's the expensive shock system, but the reliability is great and the performance is great. And although it's not adjustable, it's position sensitive. So like you go over big compression, it does more. If you go over small compression, it does less. So it's always working, depending on what you're doing. Seats are pretty comfortable in this thing too. It's a nice rig. So in summary, the Colorado ZR2 has gotten better. I'll still knock Chevy for it. They need to offer a higher performance powertrain in this. Now, there's a lot of benefits with the 4-cylinder. They've actually made this engine pretty reliable, so that's a good thing. And it's got good power. The problem is when a lot of people look at this and then they look at a Ranger Raptor and they see the Ranger Raptor is about the same price now because they've gotten rid of the base model ZR2, which I personally think is a mistake. I think they should still offer a base interior ZR2. But anyways, they look at the Ranger Raptor and they go, wow, I can get 400 horsepower, plus I can do Ford Performance Tune, get mid 400s with the horsepower for only an extra 800 bucks on top of the Ranger Raptor price. And I still get the diff locks front and rear. And I got a V6, so it sounds better. So I do think it's a bit of a miss by Chevy by not offering a V6 powertrain. They've got great V6s in the Cadillac brand. They could throw one of those in this, but they probably won't, sadly. So let me guys think about the ZR2. I still think it's a really cool truck. I just think that the value proposition isn't as strong with this anymore because they got rid of the base model. This loaded version is a very nice truck. It's just now it's right there in line with the Ranger Raptor when it comes to pricing.